welcome back, well, in this case, filthy Outriders players. So, over the last few days, I've been playing Outriders since it came out about 4 days ago, and it's a good filler. Obviously, the new PoE league starts on the, we get an announcement on the 8th, with the new league starting on the 16th, so I was like, alright, I need a new game to play in the meantime. So anyway, Outriders it was, and I am not disappointed. And there'll be a video about 5 things at some point, maybe after this video, that I really like about this game. Hair's going weird. Went for a shower. So anyway, what is the end game to Outriders? So I'll just sort of key it like this. So basically, you'll play through the main campaign in Outriders, and you will get to essentially what is an end game at about 10 hours or so. It's relatively similar to Path of Exile in many ways, but the real question is, well, what is the end game? Well, the end game is pretty much the same as Path of Exile. You get to the end, and there is what, for the better I guess, point of the word is a mapping system, which is through these pod quests that you'll go on. So basically how the storyline, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't played the game or you don't know about it, don't watch this video, or don't listen to what I'm saying. Basically what happens at the main story of Outriders is that there's a satellite up in orbit, and basically in that satellite are all these pods with all this technology and gear and all this other shit that they couldn't get access to because everything went to shit, and there's a whole story that unfolds. And it's actually quite a good story. But the moral of the story is what happens at the end of the campaign is you get access to those pods and you send the codes up, and those pods get released into the atmosphere and then start dropping down. This is actually the start of where the game actually really starts, which is actually fantastic in every possible way, because the campaign sort of introduces you to the game and some of the key mechanics, but where the fun actually is in doing the expeditions, which is what is basically Outriders' mapping system. So what happens when you get to the very end of the game is you'll end up in this encampment here, and basically you've got vehicle modding, which is useless. You've got Tiago here, which is like legendary gear, and you get basically these gold points from doing expeditions, and I'll show you what I mean. So basically you can get legendary elite offerings, and they'll cost 3,611 of these gold points, and you get these gold points by doing expeditions as you play through the game, essentially. Actually, there's some really good gear in there, and I should probably have a look at that and buy something because I need to up gear. But anyway, then you'll be able to buy gear through General Vendor in between expeditions, which is quite useful because the gear that she has is relatively straightforward. It's quite useful and functional. But anyway, the big thing here is going to be in the expeditions. So, the expeditions randomly generated each time that you go in, and essentially you will basically be able to pick from a number of these here, and I would assume with expansions and packs and everything as they come out, that will change over time. And what I'll do is I'll just move my face down a little bit, and I'll show you where the big thing comes in here. So we'll move that little banner thing there. So basically the way that expeditions work is you'll generate, these gold points, whatever the fuck they're called. I don't really care too much for it. But basically you'll generate these gold marks from completing expeditions, and based on the difficulty level of the expeditions dictates the drops that you'll get. And obviously the harder the difficulty, the better the drop. Now the way that difficulty system's rated in the end game is by this system up here, which is basically the challenge tier system or the world level. And the way that you generate world levels is when you're actually going through the campaign and killing enemies, your world level increases. So in my case, I'm at world level 5 because I cheesed through the campaign to get to the end game, and now I have to go back and basically rinse the last bunch of quests to get the world level up, but you get the gist. So basically what you do is you pick a random mission, and there are ways to target farm this as well. For example, there's Chem Plant, which is a really good area to get legendary drops once you get into golding these quests. But basically you'll go in and you can play different set tiers of difficulty, and different levels of loot will drop. So for example, if you go set tier 1, you know, item level 31, loot will drop. If you go set tier 2, 32, 34 for 3, 35, and 37 for 5, so on, so on. Now, once you get to 5, you actually have a chance for gold, what is basically gold rewards to drop. And this is complete the mission in under 15 minutes, and this is all timeline based. The sooner you complete the mission, the better the gear you're going to get dropping from the missions. And that's basically the whole goal of it. The goal of it is to get to level 15. Now, once your world tier is high enough, you can do Eye of the Storm, and this is essentially a raid. This one you're going to need friends, and if you watch other videos, people have been basically just blasting through this campaign, and it's not easy to get up to this difficulty, but it can be done relatively quickly. I'm just a little lazy to basically do this right now. I'll probably do this later. But anyway, that's basically the endgame system, and then basically once you've got enough marks, you can do the Drought Place, which gives you really good loot drops, and then once you get into the Eye of the Storm level, world level, so you basically farm up to challenge tier 15, you can do the Eye of the Storm raid, which is this big crazy ass boss fight at the very end of the game, just basically reiterated in the mapping system. But yeah, that's basically the end game. Now the other side of it is it's also got a deep and pretty crazy crafting system through this guy, but I'm not going to go into any crazy amounts of detail on that right now. If people want to see more content on Outriders on this channel, then by all means. But basically what I wanted to, I guess the focus that I wanted to get at is this game is actually complete. And I am completely over the moon. Like, it's in Australia, it's an $89 game. And usually I'm very hesitant spending money on games. I'd actually advocate this is a game worth buying. Now, you know, there's a full loot system, so obviously you can loot up. And then on that, as you can see, there's modifiers on all the gear that you get. You know, we're talking about upscaling gear. So, you know, different, all sorts of different MTX and everything like that that's associated with this. You can gear up to get your character to look the way that you want. We're talking about health scaling, armor scaling, firepower scaling. You know, you can go detailed stats. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do here. Now, there is a skill tree system as well. So basically you can, based on the character that you choose, skill up to whatever type of subclass, or let's call ascendancy, that you want to play. In my case, I just basically cheese into maps and go the Warden, and I'm just a big fuck off juggernaut that does a huge amount of damage. Now, you can go Vanquisher, which is like a crazy ass combat based tank. And then obviously with the Devastator, there's also the Seismic Shifter, which is based on power skills, which are the skills that you level up with. But anyway, that's essentially the end game. It's quite deep, and legendaries are challenging to get, and they look awesome. I've got a few which, you know, are from a little earlier in the piece. But as far as storyline goes, it's a great storyline. It keeps you on board, and then when you get to the end game is when the game really starts, which is how a fucking action RPG should work. So anyway, that's the end game. Bit of an explanation of it. It's a lot of fun. I've completely went off on a rambling riff. This is actually one of the most fun games that I've played since Path of Exile. It's actually got my attention since Path of Exile. So if that's an indicator from ARPG veteran, that this is worth your time, check it out. Play the demo before you actually get into the game to get a bit of a gist of it. And if you like the demo and you like the way that it rolls, get into the game and give it a crack. But definitely give it a shot and see what you think. Anyway, if you like this video, if this explains a little bit more of how Outriders works and the end game that exists, like and sub. If you think I've just went off on a tangent and have no idea what I'm talking about, then, you know, drop me a dislike and flame me in the comments. But anyway, until next time, like and sub, and bye.